All right, so finally getting around to making a video about the wood turning I've done. It's something I started doing about 5 years ago. That was mainly prompted. I was trying to figure out, what do I do for Gabriella's Christmas present the first year we were dating. And my dad had been doing wood turning for a while. I had not that many thoughts about it, but I was like, that would probably be a very respectable thing to do. What you see here is, I think, everything I've made for you up to this point. And so we'll start with the first one. The first one here, this is the first thing I made for her. It's just a simple bowl, broken up with a strip down the middle. Bowls tend to be some of the easier things to do, at least, when you're putting it on the actual lathe to turn. You just have a block, a simple gluing pattern here with just one split in the middle. Get it on there, turn it out, and it's easier to sand too. You don't have sharp edges. There's nothing to try to match up, anything like that. So it's a good starter thing. What did you think of it when you first? What did you think of it when you first got it, and what do you think of it now?
I was surprised to learn that you'd made it. I was impressed because I've never done any wood turning before, and now I still use it every single day.
The next is, the idea was to model it after the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. Obviously, though, it's a little more intricate than the one there. I needed to progress from just the one slit. I wanted to make something a little more fancy too, just to kind of level up the woodworking that I was doing. So that's what this is all about. It turned out really well, I think. We still got some bracelet pieces in here. And yeah, just overall, I really like how it turned out. I think it got pretty close to the Holy Grail type shape I was looking for. What did you think of this one?
So first I was really confused because I read your note with it first that said something like enjoy your Holy Grail, and I thought, what in the world does that mean? And then I opened it and immediately understood. So I really like it. I really like the dark wood on this one.
Yeah.
And I also still use this every day. I use it to kind of hold all my bracelets and stuff in my closet.
So then, speaking of bracelets, I got into a bracelet and ring making mode. So bracelets were a little bit easier to make because they're a bit bigger. You have a bit more room to work when you're actually on the lathe. But the challenge is you want to get it thin enough so you don't just have this huge bracelet on your arm that gets way in the way. But you can't make it too thin because the wood is weaker. That's what happened with this one. This is also where I started getting into epoxy. Also around this time I made this key holder thing for my sister Anna, so maybe I'll throw a video up of that. But I started getting into epoxy and using dyed epoxy to add more color to it. But yeah, as you can see, this one was too thin and it broke. This one here, scoring it and trying to fill it with purple epoxy. And then I also got into rings, which are a little bit harder, but once my dad helps me with all of these. I wouldn't be able to do it by myself, or at least not while I was learning. So he deserves a lot of credit for it. But once we figured out that we could put metal inside of it and then just kind of glue the wood around, that helps structurally with it, so this could be a lot thinner and actually more of a wearable type thing. What did you think of the rings and the bracelets? And
I thought they were cool. I really liked the dark wood again, and I liked this blue. And then one day while I was wearing it under my winter coat, it just snapped, and I was so sad. I'm glad I still have the pieces, but then that kind of made me scared to wear the other stuff because I feel like they're art and I don't want to break them all. But I really like the playing with more color in the rings. I think that's really cool.
So the next year I made this. Honestly, don't really remember why I did this. I wanted to make more of a box thing. I think this kind of came into my head, just trying to the next step in trying to these, you glue it all together and then it stays there and you just carve out from one thing. This, since it opens, you have to figure out a way to line everything up, and with how you need to set things up on the lathe and turn things out, you can't just turn it as a block like this and then cut it in half and carve it out without really digging into a lot of the other parts of the wood and having to do multiple things like this, where I filled in part of where we had chucked it because it had to go deeper into the wood, and so I had to do something to fill it in to keep it round, and so I put some dyed epoxy there. So I had to figure out how to get it close enough to line up well, so it's not like obviously jagged or anything like that. And then we also played around with trying to figure out how do we like actually keep it closed so there's like actually some stay to it. And so all we did there was drive a nail into this thing, and then added like a magnet on the inside there that matches up to it, and that gives it just enough of a little catch so it actually feels like it's kind of secured. So yeah, what did you think of this one when you got it?
I thought it was just one thing. I feel like you had to tell me that it opened. So I was surprised to see that it opened, and now I keep it, well, in my old apartment. I kept it on my like coffee table and would put like kisses in there during Valentine's and kind of little candy dish.
All right, we almost forgot the penguin, but this is one I had a lot of fun with. I mean, the idea was simple. The idea actually started. My dad and I had seen some like carved whales, but that looked really hard. So I was like, what else could I do? And had the idea for a penguin, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was fairly simple to make. Just had to glue the pieces together. So when you turned it down, you would get the belly coloring, with the rest being like the regular dark feathers. And then you had to figure out how to turn out a skinny nose like that. That was a bit harder to turn out because just like the rings, as it gets skinnier, it's a lot easier to break, especially when you're turning it at high speeds like that. And then just quickly painted on the eyes and the little yellowing for the beak. Yeah. What did you think of this one? It's quite different from the other like potentially utility ones that I had made before.
Yeah, I was surprised because by now we had a trend
Yeah.
for Christmas, so I was surprised to get a penguin. But I've always had penguin stuffed animals, so I thought it kind of fit my brand, I guess.
Yeah.
Penguins a little bit. And I was impressed by how even the eyes were. And now he's just sits on my little shelf holding my books back.
So the last thing I've made is this bowl. So I went back. I was like, okay, I started off with a bowl. Let's see how I've improved. Let's see what else we can do. I also wanted to try out something with a live edge instead of these, which were just like, very conventional blocks that were a little bit easier to work with. So I went to the live edge to figure that out. And so again, it's a pretty simple bowl. Bowls tend to be a bit easier, but it was a good way to start, figuring out the live edge, how one works, how to sand with it and try to still make it smooth. And then also with this one, the finish I put on, all of these were like glossy finishes to make the wood pop, but I specifically finished this with a food grade finish, so you technically could put food in here and eat off of it. So what did you think about this one?
I really loved this one. This one was for college graduation. It's almost like iridescent, which I think is really cool, and I really like the live edge, and it's like a good sized bowl.
Cool. So which one's your favorite?
That's hard, but I think this one is my favorite.
Okay.
I like the dark wood. I like that you can kind of see the natural grain and the iridescence in the wood, and then of course that live edge is just so pretty.
My favorite one, for the record, is this one, partially because it's Indiana Jones inspired. I also just really like how the wood turned out, and like when you're gluing together a bunch of different blocks, like what we had to do, it kind of takes a lot of, not necessarily math, but measuring to make sure you're doing it in the right way, and then when you're actually turning it, making sure you're turning it in the right spots so it ends up looking the way you want. Yeah, so I think that's the video. I was attempting to make Gabriella a Christmas present this year, but did not turn out well. So that did not happen, but we'll see if we can do it some other time. Cool. Yeah, just kidding. I actually did it. And here's the platter. All right, that's how I made it. Happy birthday, Gabriella. I hope you like the platter. I tried my best after I accidentally gave away what it was to convince you it wasn't happening. So hopefully it's a surprise. Um, I'm fairly pleased with how it looks. I know you like the live edge, so hopefully you like that. It was rough. I didn't lie about the fact that it was rough. It was hard to carve things out. I got carried away sometimes. It took a ton of sanding. I had to re-sand some parts. It was with the live edge, that means it was like a natural piece. It came from a tree, I'm pretty sure from my grandparents' farm. And so it had a lot of bug tracks in it and all that had to be filled and figured out. So yeah, it took a bit, but hopefully it worked out well, and hopefully you like it. And hopefully for us, you watched the video, you liked it. Wood turning's been really fun for me. Hopefully it was kind of insightful on how I actually do this thing. So yeah.